Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, having a discussion with Alexander Rudolph. He is a PhD candidate at Carleton and a fellow at the Canadian Global Affairs Institute. Alex, we're talking about, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the increase in cyber threats directed to Canada, not just to Canada, though. Maybe tell us a little bit about what's happening with our allies to these increase of threats and how they're adapting to get these cyber threats sort of out of their system or under control.
Mhm. So we're seeing a lot of investments into not only militaries developing their own cyber commands, but also uh, in signals intelligence, like the communication security establishment has a very critical role in uh, cybersecurity. And other countries' signal intelligence organizations have similar mandates as well.
Mm.
So they're having a lot of investments kind of across the board, including in their civilian equivalents, like the Canadian Center for Cybersecurity. In the United States, they have their own cybersecurity and industrial security agency, which does the bulk of what their cybersecurity work is. So you see across the board, not only are they investing more, but their warnings are increasing that we need not only investment from governments into kind of every level as kind of naturally by looking at these various levels, there are major differences in how to approach these problems when you bring in the military versus maybe public safety. The crimes or what is occurring will ultimately be different. So you need equal investment across the board.
And does that maybe give us a sense, or our viewers a sense, then currently, even with this new initiative for the Canadian Armed Forces, how vulnerable does Canada remain to these cyber threats?
I would say that we are still quite vulnerable, but it's the environment in terms of what the government is doing is improving. I'd say where we're most vulnerable is in the private sector, and particularly small and medium businesses, as they're usually the ones to either not invest in cybersecurity or not enough. And uh, when you kind of understand logic of small businesses, this can be understandable, but we're increasingly seeing the likes of ransomware targeting uh, businesses for the sole purpose of extorting them. And they see small businesses as easy targets. So it's becoming to a point where investments in cybersecurity are ultimately preventing even bigger payouts in the end. So it's cybersecurity investments now are ways to prevent further charges in the future.
Now, with respect to these small and medium businesses, uh, how does that connect into national security? Are these firms or companies that are doing business with the Canadian government? Is that where the vulnerability is, or is it just sort of general vulnerability of our business sector?
It's really both, where you have ransomware criminal groups that target essentially everyone. Then you have countries who invest specifically into uh, penetrating defense companies and these critical defense industry and even critical infrastructure for either as in the case in China, have done significant amounts of industrial espionage to steal data and schematics, whereas Russia often favors stealing of information and espionage.
Mhm, mhm.
But there's always the risk of if there is a war, what would happen if they use the access that they have for destructive purposes, and that's our the worst case scenario that we're trying to always prevent.
Have Canadian armed forces been targets overseas, like in the Baltics, like Lithuania, places like that?
Without a doubt, there is little public information regarding uh, specific events or operations. Uh, there is one that I know of that is on public record many years ago when Canada initially started. Uh, its activities part of the Latvian NATO mission,
All right.
where Russia was targeting or stealing information from soldiers through Facebook and using social media as a vector to find out
Right.
what's going on. And I would say that's roughly when we started to kind of understand the problem.
Alex, we're going to take another brief break. We'll be back at you after these commercial messages.